Welcome to A1R Psychic Radio here on Moonstruck TV with Amanda Hall, psychic all the way from the Gold Coast. What an interesting week it's been around the world with all the political things that are going on and elections. We're about to head to one here on the weekend here in Australia, so it's sort of like we're all electioned out here. I suppose a lot of countries are too, but, you know, the USA president has just celebrated his first 100 days in office. Whether you like him or you don't, that's not for me to talk about. But what I'm saying is the world is still sort of creating sort of lots of changes that are happening. The Pope was laid to rest on the weekend as well. So it's been a very action-packed weekend. So it's no surprise to me that the Simply Tarot card of the week is quite a sort of an action-packed one as well. It's the Magician. It's the element of surprise, good or bad. Now, people sort of say to me, why would you sort of say the element of surprise? Well, lots of things that happen in our lives do take us by surprise, and they're not always good. Sometimes they're not so good. So we've got to have, the balance. We've got to have the good with the bad. Life isn't always about a bed of roses and, sunshine and lollipops. Sometimes there's issues or situations that we need to deal with. But in all my years of teaching tarot, I used to sort of try and share with my students, when the Magician card comes out, the Magician has all the tools. He has the four elements. He has the cups, the wands, the swords and the pentacles. So he really is the ability to change things, to bring things out of nowhere, to sort of look for something that, maybe sort of catches you a little bit off guard. But it doesn't necessarily always have to be bad. Just because it might start out that way or not start out the way that you want it to, doesn't necessarily mean it doesn't end up for your own good or put you on the right path or put you in a direction that you may never have considered to go. Now, I think that's one of the major things in life, that we've all got to learn to be adaptable, and even more so in these changing times, we have to learn to adapt with what's going on in our own little universe. Yes, we're a small cog in a big wheel of what makes the world go round, but we also need to be happy and satisfied with where our lives are going. And sometimes things are disrupted or aren't quite the way that we want them to be. And we need to sort of adjust as we go along. And I think that's the major word here, is adjustment. Learning to adjust, learning to be able to be fluid, to go with the flow. And it's not easy for a lot of people. I know it's not always easy for me. I'm very good at telling other people what to do. But when it comes to telling myself what to do, well, that's a different kettle of fish. And I think we're all the same in that way. It's very easy to give someone else advice, but not necessarily to swallow that pill yourself. So if the Magician card comes out in your reading, it's asking you to be aware. There could be the element of surprise, but you have all the tools to navigate through wherever your life is sort of taking you. So this week, again, we've got a really big week astrologically. I know I seem to say that every week, but it has been such a really busy time astrologically in this last couple of years. And in all my years of working with astrology, and I've been doing that for over 40 years, I've never seen such a group of planets sitting in an energy or two energies for such a long period of time, sort of really influencing and shaping our universe as a collective, but also shaping an individual. Each one of us are individual. We each have our own path, and we all have things that we need to deal with on a day-to-day basis and longer range planning. And this is what the astrology has been doing in this last 18 months, has been slowly but surely, shaping us all to the direction that we need to be going. And it's really interesting because a lot of people say, oh, yeah, but I'm not that sign. So why does that really apply to me? And I got lots of messages about that. And I hope I'm very clear when I bring down the astrology report every week, that I try and explain to you the four major energies that it will be affecting, and then it washes over the rest of us. So if I don't mention your sign directly, know that it's having a lesser effect on you, but it is still having an effect on you. Okay, so we're going to kick it off with happy birthday to all the Tauruses. It's the sun sitting in Taurus. It's the Taurian time of the year. Now, for the rest of us that are not Tauruses, this is a time when we can all start looking at our own personal finances, the things that are important to us. For Tauruses, that's very important to them, safeguarding their money and looking after their possessions, and what's mine's mine and what's yours is mine. But for the rest of us, it's a time when we can start to look at our budgeting. We can start to look at our bank balances, start to put some plans down to maybe improve our finances. What can we pay off quickly? What can we cut back on? What can we start to sort of really feel as if we're back in the driver's seat of our finances? Now, the next section I'm going to talk about is going to sound a little bit complex, and it's going to sound like, it goes on forever, but it's because there is so many planets holding hands together It's past what we know as a stellium, which is 3 planets. This is sort of like a really, really long goods train. It's going on forever. And we're going to kick it off with the North Node. Now, the North Node is not actually a planet. The North Node is part of the karmic stuff that shows us for each and every sign what we should be aspiring to. But for mostly, it's going to be for Pisces, Cancer, Scorpio, and the opposite sign of Virgo. Any other sign, it will just wash gently over us, but it still is a message for each and every one of us. So the North Node is trying to show us the way forward. Because it's sitting in Pisces, it's asking us to get our creative head out of the wardrobe. It's asking us to sort of maybe do a little bit of daydreaming, think about things. Don't just sort of say yes or no to something immediately. Let's sort of try and look at, maybe is there other possibilities? Is there other ways that we could bring something in that would take us forward, that will give us a better result? Now, the North Node is also holding hands or conjunct Saturn, the planet of discipline and structure. In the old teachings of Saturn, they used to say it was known as the father figure, where the moon was known as the mother. I don't know that that necessarily applies to our modern times. Saturn, to me, is the planet of discipline. Whether you're male or female, it's showing you that you need to have some stickability. You need to have some direction. You need to have some planning. Sit down, think about it, look at it very carefully before you sort of start to make final decisions. It's asking you to be a little bit flexible, but also asking you to look for structure and the way forward, that this is really, you're not going to waste this golden opportunity. Now, Saturn is also conjunct or holding hands Venus, the planet of love and affection. Now, this is where things start to get very interesting, because we tend to think of love and affection and we think of relationships. We don't tend to think of the things that we might love to do, or the things that make us smile or make our heart sing. Yes, it can be a new relationship, but not everybody on the planet is looking for new love. For those as are, then you're being asked to sort of really put your aspirations high, make sure that this person really suits and blends in with your personality. Do they bring some structure? Do they bring some opportunity to your life? Will they improve your life by being part of your life if it becomes serious? If all those ticks are in the right boxes, then by all means proceed. If they're not, then start to look at what are the answers. Can I live with what I'm seeing? Do I like what I'm seeing? If I don't, can I live with that if this relationship becomes serious? If the answer is no, then bow out gracefully now. Don't let it go on and on and on until it becomes a point of no return. And for most of us, it's going to be putting some structure into the things that we love to do, whether it's a new hobby, a new job, or something that makes us smile, something that we're interested in. You now have the discipline to be able to study that, or place your energies into that, and gain the maximum out of this new situation or opportunity that's giving you pleasure. Now, we're still talking about planets all holding hands, but we're going to change signs now. We're going to jump over to the next sign of Aries. So we've still got Venus, the planet of love and affection in Pisces, is conjunct or holding hands Neptune. Neptune has just jumped into the sign of Aries in the last couple of weeks. So Neptune in Aries is sort of stirring up the Aries landscape a little bit. Some people are sort of saying, I'm really comfortable with it. It's great. It's exciting. I feel very creative. I feel like I'm getting in touch with my inner self. I'm becoming more spiritual. I'm sort of really looking at things in other ways. And other people are tearing their hair out saying, I don't know what's happening. I feel very uncomfortable. I don't feel right. I don't feel like I'm me. This will settle down. It's not necessarily is one right and the other one's wrong. It's a matter of blending of a lot of things. Aries have gone through a lot of changes in the last 12 to 18 months. This is just sort of continuing on with that theme, that flavor that, change is good. And, Aries people aren't known for their patience. They like to get in, get out, go and stir everybody up and then nick off. It's not their role to stick around and sort of see how the project unfolds. They're there to motivate people and get people up off the chair. But one of the things I learned very early in my career with astrology was Aries is me first. And did I tell you about me first? Well, this Neptune influence is really bringing that to the forefront. It's like anything that they feel is lacking in their lives, or things that need attention, or something that they want to get off their chest, or if they want to become more creative, is becoming very magnified at the moment. So Neptune is also conjunct or holding hands Mercury, the planet of communication, again in Aries. So this is sort of, it is affecting the fire signs when I'm talking about Aries. I'm talking about Aries, Leo and Sagittarius, and the opposite sign of Libra. washing over the remaining 8 signs. But communication is something that they need to be very careful of. They shouldn't be sort of just throwing something out there to get attention or to get it, look at me, aren't I important? Or did I tell you about me and me and me and me and me and the only thing that matters in my life is me? They've got to start learning to vibrate off that opposite energy of the Libra energy where we're being inclusive, we're bringing everybody else into the equation as well. And I know sometimes this can be very difficult for Aries because they do really think that they are the center of the universe and the whole universe, and everybody else is inconsequential. Well, that's not what the lesson is here about learning how to put yourself more in the front and center. It's about learning to share. It's about learning to bring other people in, to be more inclusive. Even though the energy is in Aries, it's asking you to sort of flex those muscles and be more inclusive in that way. So Mercury is also conjunct or holding hands Chiron, the planet, which is not a planet, but it's known in karmic sides of astrology as the wounded healer. Now, this has been sitting in Aries for some time, and this is what's been slowly trying to transform Aries. Some people have had illnesses, had to have operations. Other people have made changes in their life or changes in their working life, and it hasn't always been easy because they've fought it every step of the way. They know better than everybody else. And sometimes the universe or planetary configurations not necessarily work against you, but say, hey, hang on a minute, you're not listening to me, you're not going with the flow, the way that we need you to go to sort of bring new changes and everything in your life. You're still heading in this very stubborn, very Aries direction of I can do it my way and I know what I'm doing. I don't need anyone else's help. And sometimes then Chiron will sort of give you a slap around the ears and say, no, that's not exactly what we were looking for. We were hoping to transform your life. We're hoping to heal you. You know, we all come in with karmic baggage, whether we believe in reincarnation or not. I do believe we've all been here before and we're likely to be coming back again. And we have lessons to learn. And this is why some people breathe through life that looks like their life's very easy. The next time around, it might be incredibly difficult because, you know, they earned their stripes for things to be easy, or maybe they're a very new soul and they haven't had a lot of lessons they've got to learn yet. The older the soul, the deeper and the harder the lessons. So, you know, if you feel that you've been one of those really chosen people that's had an incredibly stressful, difficult, hard life, or, you know, had lots of challenges where the person next door's had a lazy life, then look at it in a different set of eyes and say, wow, I must be an old soul and I came here to do these lessons, and embrace them and work with them. It's character building. It's good for you. It's good for your soul. And the more lessons you can complete in this lifetime, the less you got to do next time round. Just saying. Okay, we've got Mars, the planet of action, which is what makes us all get out of bed of a morning. Disregarding your sign in that way, we all need to get out of bed every day and function. But Mars is currently sitting in Leo, so again affecting the fire signs, Leo, Sagittarius, and Aries, and the opposite sign of Aquarius. Now, that's really interesting when I say the opposite sign of Aquarius, because I'm going to start talking to you about what is actually sort of happening there with Aquarius. We've got Pluto, the planet of transformation, is sitting in Aquarius at the moment, and Mars is actually sitting at opposite sides to Pluto. So if you can imagine like a seesaw at opposite ends of the seesaw, we've got Mars on one side, we've got Pluto on the other side. So Mars is sort of saying, I want to be the boss. I want the limelight. I want to get on center stage. Everybody's got to take notice of me. Have I told you about how important I am? And at the opposite end of the seesaw, Pluto's sort of saying to us, now hang on a minute. I appreciate that you want to be, so important that everybody takes notice of you, but I'm here to transform things. I'm here to look at things on a much bigger picture, on a collective of sort of like encompassing the whole globe, not just you. And it's sort of like a tug of war. It's like a push-pull situation. So be very careful of that at the moment, particularly if you're a Leo or you're an Aquarian. Now, an Aquarian, the other energies that bounce off the Aquarian energy, the other air signs are Gemini and Libra. So they need to be careful. And of course, the opposite sign would be Leo. So it's this push-pull situation. Yes, it does wash over the remaining 8 signs, but it's not as intense. So if you're a fire sign or an air sign, please be aware of this push-pull sort of energy at the moment. It could almost be an argument with yourself, and I mean, we all have these days, the alarm clock goes off and you think, oh, do I really want to get out of bed? I'm really so tired. I'd like to stay here. Some of us will roll over and turn the repeat off, and others of us will bound out of bed and say, "Look, where's the coffee? It's time to get going." So it's like that sort of situation, but it's much more intense, and it's about major issues that are happening in their lives. So I just want to wrap up the astrology this week with Jupiter in Gemini, and it's the planet of expansion, opportunity, and wonderful things that can happen in our lives. Now, Jupiter sitting here is trying to expand things out, expand their horizons, particularly for the air signs, which is Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius, and the opposite sign of Sagittarius. So there could be, for those particular four signs, some really interesting, wonderful opportunities that could land in their lap, things that seem to come out of nowhere. Finally, you're getting recognition at work that you weren't getting before. All of a sudden, people are taking notice of you. It will wash over the other side. So if you're looking to change your job, maybe sort of slowly, but definitely start looking. May not be precisely the right time to make a change, like a job change or make a move, but it's time to start looking because there is wonderful things happening ahead of you. So we're going to take our first caller, which is Yolanda in Ripley in Mississippi. Are you there, Yolanda?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have a question I can answer for you, please?
No, ma'am.
You don't? You just want me to sort of have a little look at what's going on in your life, Yolanda?
Well, I'm wanting to know, I've been having like real bad dreams.
Right.
I keep seeing like shadows.
You can't feel your shadow, or you can't see your shadow in the dream, sweetie?
Well, I see it. It just reflects on a certain day of what happened last year with my mom.
Right. So your mum's still with us?
No, she unfortunately passed last year.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Look, sometimes when we get dreams like that we can't quite explain, it doesn't necessarily mean that there's bad things that are going to happen, Yolanda. Sometimes it's yes, it's a dream, but sometimes it's dredging up stuff from the unconscious or the subconscious part of our mind, and it's putting things in a way that it's like to get our attention. It's not necessarily a direct message from your mum saying things are all bad or you're doing something the wrong way. It's a combination of things. Yes, she's trying to make sort of contact with you and trying to make her presence felt, but at the same time, your own mind is dredging up stuff from the past, and it's trying to show you, even in a shadow form, that maybe things could have been done differently, or maybe now that you've looked at in hindsight, you feel that you could have handled the situation differently. Doesn't mean something was right or wrong. Look, I don't feel that there's anything untoward here. I want to just take a moment to sort of honour your mum here. When she passed, was that a sudden situation? Was she not expecting this?
No.
No, it wasn't sudden, or yes, it was?
It was sudden. She got sick Mother's Day, found out her liver was failing. Then when we took her to the hospital that Tuesday, when I got back to the hospital, we found out she had stage 4 cancer, and there was nothing else they could do but we had to make a choice to put her in hospice. And she passed 5 days later.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. So obviously, that was a very stressful time for you and the family, and quite a shock for her. So, she might have known she was sick, but she didn't realise it was that serious. I mean, that must have come as a terrible blow to everybody, just thinking mum's sick and she's going to get better, and then all of a sudden she's gone. Is that how difficult it was for you?
Oh, yeah, I still haven't dealt with it. I just push it far back the way I can, because I don't want to think about it. I just keep myself busy so I can't think about it.
Yeah, Yolanda, look, that's not an uncommon way of people to deal with grief, because we don't get taught how to deal with those sort of very intense emotions, and particularly when somebody passes so quickly like your mum did, here 1 minute and gone the next sort of thing. It's even more difficult than if you've had 6 or 12 months to prepare for it. Not that I think you can ever prepare, but it's coming. But in this situation, you didn't know it was coming, and that may be part of the reasons why these dreams are happening. It's like your unconscious mind sort of clearing everything out, trying to say to you, it's okay, there's nothing more that you could have done. It wasn't your fault she died. It wasn't her fault she passed away either. That was just a tragedy that happened, and we now have to process it. Grief is one of those very personal things that there's no right or wrong way, Yolanda, how to deal with it. And there will come a time where you will probably visit it and look at it and find some sort of peace out of it. For now, but that's not how you're handling it, because you don't feel drawn to do it that way. So look, if you wake up in the middle of the night and these dreams are really bothering you, can I suggest get up, go for a little walk, have a glass of water, turn some music on or something, and then go back to sleep. Don't sort of lay there in that uncomfortable energy that you feel that it's woken you up. Get up and change the energy, and that will sort of help break that cycle of those sort of things. But I think it's a combination of things, of you sort of trying to avoid dealing with the grief, and that's okay. I'm not criticizing you for that. But at the same time, your mum's trying to get a message through to you to tell you that she's okay. Like, she's okay. There's nothing you could have done. She didn't realize she was this sick. She just didn't feel right. She didn't realize it was serious. And I think that's the message that she's trying to get through to you, Yolanda. I hope that sort of helped you and gives you a little bit of comfort there, sweetie.
Yeah, it does. It's hard when you got a lot of stuff going on, and that was the one you could turn to help get through it.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't have either one of my parents.
Yeah, and that makes it really hard, Yolanda. But can I suggest, if there's really something that you need an answer on that you would have gone to mum ordinarily with, and you would have sat down over coffee and worked it out, talk to her out aloud before you go to sleep and say, Mum, put the answer in my head first thing in the morning. So then when you wake up in the morning, whatever the first thought is that comes to you, then that that's the direct answer from mum. Might not be what you want to hear, but you'll know that that's her input. That, for all the busyness that goes on in our lives, that's the best way to make direct contact with spirit. And, it'll just be a thought that'll come into your mind. And it mightn't even make any sense to you at the time, but write it down and know that's directly come from her. She's always with you, sweetie, and she's really disappointed that she went so early. She had no intentions of. So anyway, sweetie, that's where I've got to leave it, because I've got to take the next call, but I know you're going to be fine, and mum's always with you. We're going to talk with Jade now in St. Petersburg, Florida, USA. Are you there, Jade?
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Jade. Do you have a question I can answer for you, please?
Yeah. I was curious on a new move. My best friend, he wanted to move down, and we wanted to kind of start a new journey together.
Right.
We are both into health and wellness, and I just want to know what you feel about that transition. I feel it's going to really change my life. I really do. And his name is Josh. My name's Jade.
Okay, Jade. Now, I just want to ask one little question before I go into Josh's soul. Is this just purely a professional situation, or are we going to overlap it with some romance?
It's definitely romantic. We've known each other since we were 10. We're both born in 1990.
Okay, just want to be clear, because I want to sort of make sure that I get as much information for you as possible. Really, really interesting, because Josh is sort of sharing with me on a soul level. As much as he wants to do this, he's terrified. Is he not as confident as you are in day-to-day things? Like he needs a little bit of a boost there.
Yeah, I definitely can see that. He's definitely more timid than me.
Yeah. And look, I'm not saying he doesn't love you, and I'm not saying he doesn't think this is a terrific idea. It's sort of like, it's all great in his mind, but when it comes to sort of putting it into action, it's like he freezes. Look, I think that he will overcome that over time. I do definitely feel that, the two of you will move together and move on to a business. But I'd like to sort of see the two of you still have another income. Just while we're getting everything sort of sorted and together, I'd like to see us have a day job as well, so that we don't have that stress of not having enough money coming in while we're building, what we want to do in the, health and lifestyle industry behind it. Like, let's take the pressure out of the situation. He's a really, really nice man. And at times I think he's his own worst enemy, because at times he talks himself out of being as good at something as he really is, like, oh yeah, I'm good, but there's always a but. We've got to try and encourage him that not everybody has to be the number one in their field to be the best. It's the best that you can be yourself. I feel he's very intuitive. He really picks up on a lot of people's energies, and I think that's probably part of the problem, is he hasn't really learned how to release those energies once he's finished dealing with a client. He takes it on board, he sucks it in, and he thinks he detoxes from it or releases it, but he doesn't release it enough. It's like he keeps 10% of it for himself in case I need it later on. Well, he doesn't need someone else's energy. You understand what I'm saying? Where you seem to be able to sort of put it into a very professional thing. Like, I've dealt with Mary, I've given her a session. Once she leaves, I do my little ritual, I cleanse everything, I send her on her way with love and light, and then you're ready for the next one. With him, he takes 10% of it and keeps it. So there's got to be a little bit of education or training there to help him. But look, I really think this is going to be hugely successful. The two of you are going to grow together. I mean, I know you mentioned that you've known each other since you were 10, but I think you knew each other in past lives as well. This is not the first time you two have been together. So there's a lot of knowledge there that will come through as we take our time, as we grow as individuals and things start to move forward. You will start to have dreams or just information will come to you and you think, where the hell did that come from? I haven't gone and officially studied that, but I just know it. Well, just be thankful that it is coming through from a past life situation, and you do understand it, you do know it, it is your right to have this sort of knowledge and this wisdom. Can I go a long way down the track? Was the long-term goal with what the two of you were hoping to do, are you eventually hoping to open up a sort of a centre, a retreat where people can come and teach and learn and stay and do all those sort of things? Is that the longer
actually
term
like
one?
a
wellness
wellness
centre.
clinic of some sort.
Yeah, but I could see it as
Wellness
somewhere where
centre.
people, but they booked in for a sort of a weekend or a week as well. Like there was sort of like if I can use the example, like a medical centre or a doctor's surgery on one side, and then the other side was where people came to stay, and we teach them about nutrition and meditation and dealing with their lives. It was sort of like not just you two. There was other practitioners obviously that would come in, but that to me was the end goal of where you're hoping to achieve.
Mhm. Yeah, actually,
And that's what I
that
thought.
is exactly my vision. That's
Yeah,
that's
good. And I think
definitely
he's on
my.
board too. I mean, it's not going to happen next week or anything. It's something he's going to work towards. But what I was saying is they were showing me longevity here, that this is where it's going to lead to. And I think trying to prove to me to share with you that this is the right path. You two will not only be, business partners, you'll be lovers, you both share the similar sort of dreams and aspirations, and you're both working towards this higher goal of, eventually having a wellness centre where we can help many, many people. And you'll have paying clients, of course, you have to, to keep the doors open, but there will be programs that you run at different times that are there for people that can't afford it, or people that have, not as big an income, or, might have special needs or something like that. So it's a really encompassing program. It's really great. Look, I wish you and Josh every success with this, Jade. The two of you have been chosen to do this. Yes, it's not always going to be easy, but I think as long as you can be open and honest with each other, I can't see why this won't be a huge success. So that's where we're going to leave Jade in Florida. It's been a really, really interesting show. Look, it doesn't matter who I speak to, and which way you perform a reading. There's always a unique and special message for each and every one of us. And, it's sometimes, those that aren't fortunate enough to get on the show or speak to somebody live, quite often can take a message out of someone else's message. It sort of rings a bell with them and say, oh, yeah, I can see that, or I can see how I could apply that to my life. So readings sometimes, even though they're very personal, but when they're done on such a public stage, can reach so many people around the world. And, each of us take out of what we hear on the show or what we see on the show, that's personal for us is the piece that we're meant to have. So this week I want to leave you with one of the most beautiful love songs I think that's ever written. And it's interesting, we were just talking to Jade and about her man named Joshua, and this week I'm going to feature a song by Joshua Caddison. Beautiful in My Eyes. I think it's a very beautiful song. He writes beautiful songs. I mean, Joshua Caddison's written many beautiful songs, but this one particularly sort of jumped out at me this week, and I thought it was a nice song to share with everybody, particularly on our first week as we move into a new way of broadcasting here at A1R Psychic Radio on Moonstruck TV. We're now broadcasting through Zoom, and it's really exciting for us to have this new platform to be working on. So until next week, enjoy your week. Don't look at things in such negative eyes. Look at things as, you're pleased that you're alive. Whether you like what's going on politically around the world or whatever, it doesn't matter. We're all here. We're all having fun. And until next week, enjoy Joshua Caddison, and you are all beautiful in my eyes.